Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Mad Realms Talking Skritt. I'm your host, Jim, and we've got a fantastic show here for you this weekend. Icebrood Saga Champions, Chapter 2, Power, has released just this past Tuesday. We've got more bot issues in Guild Wars 1, an idea for seasons for World vs. World, and a bit more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow hosts. She knows not to get into a roar-off with the Ebonhawke chicken. Say hello to Arlie.
That stupid chicken. You know, actually, you mentioned the chicken, and I was like, I forgot about it until I remembered. And I was like, I wonder if that's why I've never gone back here on my own ever, 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 ever.
Just too many bad memories have to repress that.
Yeah, I never even consider going to Ebonhawke for anything at all.
It's a fair point. And finally, we have he streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question: if the Ebonhawke chicken can't save us from the dragons, who can? Say hello to Age.
The power of friendship?
The power of friendship.
My Little Pony, yes! We're going to have a Guild Wars 2 My Little Pony crossover.
Wait. Power of friendship is common in shonen anime. Is My Little Pony shonen?
Yes! Yes!
I think I just broke Age.
I take back my statement.
Dude, I have such a want to go to the anime forums and be like, write this whole thing about My Little Pony is shown in anime now.
To be fair, a lot of magical girl anime is also the power of friendship, so it's not exactly an uncommon thing in anime anyway. But before we get down that rabbit hole, Icebrood Saga Champions Chapter 2 Power. We have 4 new dragon response missions. The community's overall response on this iteration seems to be they are better than previous, but they still need work. On Guild Chat, they talked a bit about iterating on the feedback from the last set of dragon response missions and are happy to hear that the missions are being received better. Spirit shards are no longer dropping from champion loot bags. The item filters in the trading post now support attribute filtering for concentration and expertise. And before we get into the rest of everything that's coming after this, let's talk about those two things first. So, I just did not manage to get up to date. I wanted to do it yesterday while I was off from work, but I had chores and executive dysfunction is a thing. So
How close to update today are you?
I am halfway through Jormag Rising.
Okay. All right.
It's one of those things where I have to do like the things in the open world in Drizzlewood in the northern half, and I really don't want to bother doing that on a map that isn't having anything done on it.
Right.
So I'm not there yet, and I'm about to get yelled at because I think the cat wants out of the office. So you two talk about the DRMs and the general stuff. I'll be right back.
Have you done the new ones yet, H?
Yep.
What do you think about them?
Okay, so I think the main difference is that the bosses have more mechanics than just like this random AoE. I think the only boss that was kind of boring was the third one. I won't explain what that boss entails entirely, but basically you just have to DPS and just ignore everyone else around you. But yeah, they were able to get some mechanics in for those fights. They made them different bosses. I don't know if that's just because how the story panned out, but I think that works very well. It's just not a destroy every time. In particular, the second fight is not really a spoiler, but it's basically it has the same mechanics as the Poison Wyvern in Verdant Brink, plus like one or two extra mechanics. I'll let you find those out if you haven't played it. But yeah, and then like basically the Dragon response missions are basically the same in terms of telling progressing the story as well as progressing different arcs of the story between characters. But basically, I think this one's more Bram focused, if anything.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's as much as I can say, I guess.
I do agree that the boss fights felt much better in general on these DRMs. But overall, I've been trying to figure out for like a week now what it is about the missions itself that felt better to me. Like the first 3 that we got, the whole mission before the boss like felt, I don't know, it felt less cohesive to me than the newer ones. Like these all work together and make sense throughout the mission in a much better way than the other ones do, which is weird because the other ones were, I feel like, even more linear in a way. Like especially the one in Metrica. Like that one's completely like, you know, linear and stuff. But there's just something about these missions and the way they progress that made them feel more cohesive and that they work together better.
I feel like the progression of the story in this episode is better, and that might contribute to that.
Mm.
The preludes, didn't really feel. I guess the prelude, because I think the preludes in the last episode kind of had mechanics for like simple mechanics to get you ready for the boss fights there. But I feel like the prep for these ones were more intertwined into the story. And I felt like in chapter 1 I was just doing things for the sake of doing things, whereas in chapter 2 it kind of made sense, the preludes. So this is not really a spoiler, so I'm just gonna say, so in Ebonhawke you're kind of saving people from the destroyer, you're escorting people out. So that makes sense because there's destroyers attacking, and then there's this whole dynamic that goes on in discussion as you're progressing towards the boss. So it makes sense. And I felt more focused in the storytelling this time around.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
So
that
I
might
think
just be the way the story is conveyed and it is better. That's probably it.
Well, it sounds that, like, all in all, like what they were talking about in guild chat is that there really was, because I think Age, you said last week that there probably wouldn't be as much iteration. Like we shouldn't be expecting them to be much different from the first round of DRMs, just because.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I was pleasantly surprised because
that's good.
Yeah, they clearly had taken some of the feedback and started working on it. I also was really happy to see that in the middle, so like you do basically the layout of the episode is you do 2 DRMs. There's like an intermission where story things happen. It's short, but it's a little intermission, things happen. And then you go do the second half of the thing. I kind of really like that little intermission type thing after the first 2 instead of it. What I was worried about going into this episode was that it was just going to be a mission with nothing to break it up at all. And all of the story would happen in the DRMs. And I'm glad they didn't quite do that.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. And I do want to address Torment's comment about the DRMs are still a massive grind fest. I kind of feel like, I mean, if you're only focusing on doing Dragon Response missions, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a grind fest because you're doing the same things over and over again, and I don't think they're really meant to be played like that.
Yeah, it's meant to be something you do over and over. Just it's kind of like Silver Waste, but like shorter, I guess. That's meant just to get something.
More like bite-sized content instead of doing the long multi-hour.
But I think it's one of those things where it's just like in between. You can't look at like one solo piece of content from PvE and say it's a grind fest, because like if you're going to do the same thing over and over again, you're kind of choosing to do the grind, right? Like you can't just say, oh, PvE in Guild Wars 2 is a grind fest when you have like adventures can get you stuff. So you can go bust through a bunch of adventures. You got the DRMs. You can do strike missions, which you can, there's a system to pug up for those. There's even like open world events where you can find tags. You can find bounties in the Path of Fire missions. So I don't know. I kind of feel like there's definitely enough varied content, and I think from what I've heard, because I have yet to actually catch up to the story enough to do DRMs, um,
Hmm.
I would say they sound like, what were those 3-man dungeons they introduced in World of Warcraft in Mists of Pandaria? What did they call
Oh,
those?
the
Scenarios?
trials.
I think they
No,
were called
well, there are
scenarios.
no, there are scenarios, but they're not 3-man or anything. Like there's many different levels of how many people
Okay.
can be in a scenario. They're just not bound to needing the trilogy.
Okay.
Um, but there were no, even the trials had 5. I guess there probably are some scenarios which are 3-man,
Yeah, because
but they've taken it far beyond just that at
yeah.
this point.
Yeah, so I think they seem to be kind of fitting the malleable instanced content, like the malleable party
Hmm.
size instant content. So
Yeah.
especially it's
One
nice to
thing
hear that. Oh, God.
I was going to say, one thing I did learn on this update that I hadn't realized before. So when I do the dragon response missions, I always do public just because have other people join and like it's fun. I most of the time never have bad interactions with other people in the community, so I don't mind it. The thing I never realized was there have been a handful of times where I've done a public one and nobody's joined it. So I've done it by myself, which is way harder than just doing a private one by yourself because like they scale, but
Mm-hmm.
apparently the public one takes longer to scale down if there's only one person. It's
Oh.
much harder. It's always been much harder for me to do one of those by themselves. And then I just happened to try a private one, and the whole thing was super easy. I was like, wow, I never realized I was doing these hard mode.
Okay then.
So
That's kind of
it's
crazy.
something worth knowing.
So I suppose the DRM consensus here is that it's an improvement and yay, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Iterate on it still, but yeah, proven.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to continue to. Like as we get each one, they're going to like refine the whole process. So
That's good to like. I mean, it's and I was honestly on board with what Age said last week that they probably hadn't had much time to work on them. So
right.
if they were able to make a turnaround on all the feedback they got, even with
Or as much of the feedback as
yeah.
they did. Yeah.
So I mean, if people are still giving and again, constructive, be
Right.
constructive. You have to like explain why you think something is a problem. You can't just say, "Oh,
And
this
maybe give
sucks," and
ideas of how to fix it,
yeah. Now, even saying I dislike this thing, but I don't know why. At least
Uh-huh.
saying that like this feels bad and
Hmm.
explain in the ways that it makes you feel bad can help,
Right.
even if you don't
Yeah,
have suggestions for the exact fix.
that's
So,
true. I just know like sometimes there's issues where it's like, yeah, and how exactly would you fix that? Because it's just like an issue of the whole like medium
mm-hmm.
more than like the particular thing.
Yeah. Quote 7-bit. They're not perfect, but they are better, and they are perfectly fine as filler content to get us to an expansion IMO.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
I get that, but we hit consensus on the DRMs, which is cool. It's good to hear
Hmm.
that they're moving in a positive direction. The other thing is, I think attribute filtering for concentration and expertise is just a long time coming
Hmm.
on the trading post, so there's really
Yeah.
not anything to talk about there. But this thing with spirit shards no longer dropping from champion loot bags.
Yeah, they said they wanted to be a more of a thing that isn't a more common thing after like looking at the data for it. So they wanted to be more meaningful in that
Mm.
respect. And they also said something else. I think it's in the release notes, but basically,
Yeah.
those are the reasons for it.
Let's see here.
What are spirit shards even used for? I don't remember.
Legendaries
Just that. That's why. I don't
and other
make
stuff. Yeah,
legendaries often. But yeah. I was gonna say the spirit shards are one of those things that I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
But
how's that wolf horn going for you?
Let's see here.
I
Spirit.
still need to get all of those stupid, like, top tier mats. That's what the battle gift and those top tier mats are holding me back at this point.
Do we need to do a WW Zero to Hero night and just
Yes. Well, but it can't be Wednesday because we're progression rating again.
Thursday.
Well, it can't be Thursday either.
Well, then Tuesday, because then it can be a group game night.
Could do that, yeah.
Except because Age is on Blackgate.
Could have it without me. It's fine.
But the Spirit Shard bit. Spirit Shards were designed as an endgame currency that fuels player interactions with the Mystic Forge. It's used for, you use Spirit Shards to buy other stuff as well. But whether this is for promoting materials, generating unique equipment, or working towards a legendary, Spirit Shard costs reflect time investment spent engaging in gameplay. Over the years, we have monitored the acquisition of Spirit Shards, and we have come to a determination that allowing them to drop from champion loot bags has both devalued them as a currency and also created restrictions on how we use champions in encounters. For these reasons, we have made the decision to remove Spirit Shards from the drop tables of champion loot bags. They will still be available from every other existing source, and we will be closely monitoring how this change affects the game's economy.
It's really interesting that it limited them and how they use the champions in encounters, which makes sense, but I never would have thought of that.
Well, I know one of the, what is it? There's a sword that basically looks like a hacksaw. And I remember Aaron telling me a long time ago, and I think this might have even been pre-Heart of Thorns, but one of the best ways to turn Spirit Shards, and I think at that time it was skill points because that's what they used to be. You turn Spirit Shards into gold is to make that item, and it would sell for like 2 gold on the trading post. So
interesting.
It can be used to make non-account bound stuff, which can then be sold on the trading post. So then that has an effect on the economy.
The economy, yeah.
So, yeah, Hat, I don't know how many Spirit Shards I have. And ZeKrioX, we will get to the account bound items. That was the bit that I stopped talking about because it was going to be a whole bunch of word salad to go over. But I mean, I'm not a person who guns for legendaries. The last one I made was, I think, Howl? Yeah, the Warhorn.
Howler.
Yeah. I don't remember when. I know I've started working on several others, but...
Yeah, I've only ever actually made one. I've been in progress on Chuka and Chambawit, whatever, the tiger bow for ages.
You made one legendary and it's the worst one?
The best one, Dreamer.
I just need a checkbox and sound to mute the Dreamer. That's it. But I get that. Like, changing the economy. But also, this means that they can more freely, like, because how many times have we gotten events where enemies don't drop loot? Like, there's a whole bunch of times where, like, you get mass spawns of stuff and it doesn't drop loot. It doesn't give you experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with the enemies that don't drop loot is they don't trigger runes and sigils that proc on kill.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they can stop doing that so much.
Well, and it would be nice to have more champions show up for things and stuff.
Yeah. Then maybe they won't mind. Well, as long as people aren't intentionally failing events and stuff to generate more champions.
Yeah.
Which would be awful for that to start happening again. Please don't do that, people. But the next bit that ZeKrioX was talking about is a whole bunch of account-bound items are no longer account-bound. Crafted exotic equipment with the following attribute prefixes are now tradable. Deep breath. Celestial, Commanders, Crusade, Grieving, Trinkets only, as there are no crafted exotic weapons or armor with this attribute prefix. Marauder, Minstrels, Nomads, Seraph, weapons and armor only. There are no crafted exotic trinkets with Seraphs. Sinister, Trailblazers, Vigilant, Vipers, Wanderers, and Zealot. So, Celestial gear can now be bought on the trading post for people who want to do Celestial gear builds. I don't know. My warrior was a 5 Signet warrior, all Celestial gear for the longest time.
I was gonna say, it used to be a big thing. I don't know if there are many builds that use it now, are there?
I know Elementalist did really well with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Celestial Amulet, Dual Dagger, Elementalist was a big thing in PvP during Core.
Right. But it's been a while.
Yeah. There's a few other item changes. Glider skins can now be unlocked in PvP and raids, which I guess that had some kind of interaction where you couldn't use gliders in those areas. So, which is weird because I know you have to glide in some raid areas, but
Yeah.
neither here nor there. Many account-bound non-ascended food consumables are now tradable, which is great. Account-bound sharpening stones, maintenance oils, and focusing crystals are now no longer account-bound. Exquisite serpentite jewels are now tradable. Prismatium ingots are now tradable. And many crafting and drop updates, which include an increased drop rate of the charged quartz orichalcum amulet, which contains the Chak egg sac from the Garant's chest. Increased drop rate of the festive confetti infusion from the Stop the Choya Pinata Before It Gets Away event bonus chest. Significantly increased the drop rate of the Heart of the Con-Ur infusion from the Recovered Char artifact. The Watchwork mechanism now requires 250 Watchwork sprockets to craft, down from 500. Linseed oil now needs 15 piles of flaxseed, down from 20. The Celestial Orichalcum Imbued inscription and the Celestial Intricate Gossamer inscription now require 2 charged quartz, down from 5. So, like Tavik said, the Celestial change. It is now, not only can you buy Celestial gear on the trading post, you can craft it much easier too. Because charged quartz is awful.
I was going to say, I'm for anything that requires the amount of charged quartz you need for a thing.
Oh my god, charged quartz. I cannot stand charged quartz as an item. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it ever being used. And yeah, ZeKrioX, more item accessibility is fantastic. So.
Yeah. I like it especially when people are just like even trying out new builds and they just want certain things and they don't want to go through the expense of making the Ascended trinket. So, so for example, Marauders. If you want to just try out Marauders, you can actually use an exotic set and then just mess around with it, see if you like it, and then just go full Ascended if it works out for you.
Because I know we worked this out multiple times before. Exotic to Ascended is only like 10% additional stats.
5 to 10, yeah. I don't remember exactly. I thought it was 5.
It's not much. I think that the only item that it truly matters is the weapon, just because weapon damage is a thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking trinkets, but yeah. It's a good like test bench anyway, and you could use like, I don't know, like Ascended trinkets you already have anyway, if anything.
Yeah.
But... Yeah, you're right, Zach. There's a bunch of other prefixes that they still need to make non-account bound, but
I think over time, since they started these, over time they'll do it because it seems like they're making the older things that have been around for a longer amount of time not account bound, while some of the newer things are still account bound, which makes sense.
And Tavik, I'm grateful for you dropping the items in the guild hall, but we're actually going to have to do guild missions again if I want to actually purchase any of the upgrades for the guild.
Guild mission night! Woo!
It's going to have to happen because Tavik has been doing his damnedest to provide items to the guild, and we don't have any favor left to do
all
anything.
by himself.
Yeah.
Good job.
I appreciate it. I just lament how the guild system in Guild Wars 2 has fallen to the wayside. But there's only so many people, and they can only do so much. So.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly forget we have a guild hall all the time.
Which is a shame, really. But
considering how excited I was for them, yes.
Just because of a skin, Tavik? I can't blame you for that. And finally, some gem store updates. You get a free Primordus die kit and a free Jormag die kit for limited time in the style category of the gem store. These are the standard die kits, not the ones that give you a guaranteed one of the unique color. So you have a 6 in 25 chance of getting one of the unique colors.
Yeah, I think for mine, I got mint and I got grapefruit. Grapefruit I already had, mint was new. So
I got one new one too. I can't even remember what it was, but
I got nothing, so I scrapped them.
Oh.
Yeah, that's I end up scrapping all the die because eventually I'll level inscription on one of my characters.
Mm,
Scribe?
Scribe,
right.
yeah. I went to the World of Warcraft crafting profession instead. I don't know
Yep.
why. Um, I got just far.
Inscription, scribe.
I got just far enough to steal the Declaration of Independence in scribing, and that was it. That was the only thing I cared about.
Nice.
The Ice Reaver skin set gets another item with the Ice Reaver Greaves. I didn't get pictures of this because I figured we'd just roll through it real quick. Um, the Mistlock Sanctuary passkey for 1,000 gems is back. Jorah's outfit for 700 gems is back. A limited time discount on the Sacred Pegasus Griffin skin, the War Torn Marauder Warclaw skin, and the Infernal Horror Springer skin. They're down to 1,200 gems. And then the Wild Trihorn Raptor and the Mordrum Alpha Jackal skin are down to 960. Which I'm honestly surprised it took them as long as it did for the Mordrum Alpha to become a Jackal skin.
Yeah.
But anybody picking up anything on the gem store this week?
No.
No.
I just got the focus thing last week, so
Yeah.
Oh, the dragon one. That was a good one.
I love that. It looks so cool.
Yeah. And then finally, with this update, one more thing. We have special content from Arlie.
Nope. I was like, what? What did I do?
Yeah. The Mac client, you can no longer buy gem store items or gems. Or you can no longer buy gems. That has been disabled with this update.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's the thing we talked about before. But gonna swap this in. Arlie went ahead and got footage of all the stretch animations. Not all of them. She missed the Sylvari, I think.
Yeah, I messed up the Sylvari one. I'm really upset about it.
I like the Asura is just like calisthenics to loosen up.
I know. It like almost looks like it was dancing at first. I was like, did I do the wrong thing?
The Sylvari, quote ZeKrioX, the Sylvari is yoga.
Yes, it is. The char is kind of yoga too. It's some couple of positions too.
It's like I was just expecting a single animation, not like a full suite of animations here.
Yeah, that's why I was wanted to check it, and yeah, each one's unique.
Char is just cat. Yeah, Zach, that's pretty accurate. Okay, that's the end of that because I forgot to loop it.
Loop it.
Yeah. But still, like it's really impressive the amount of work they put in. I was expecting something a little shorter for all of that.
Yeah. Oh, I think I was telling you, I think the char and the human one were the longest ones. So
It's nice to see all that. Like, and then guilds can start their okay, everybody stretch before the pull for the raid.
right. Yeah.
Loosen up. The entire raid team loose.
Yeah.
But
no, like I think for emotes that they're putting in like special emotes that you have to work towards and stuff, it makes sense to make it completely different for each race like that,
Yeah.
I like it.
So, any outstanding things from the patch that either of you want to go over?
No, go ahead.
I would just like the more accessibility for the different stats, especially Celestial. And yeah.
I like a lot about this patch. I really enjoyed in the beginning, to be honest, like the Ebonhawke people freaking out about Krisha coming to Ebonhawke. Like I was chuckling the whole time, like stupid humans. I don't know. It really amused me. And I was playing my human elementalist too, so.
I mean, the commander at this point, you've been everywhere, so
yeah,
how much
transcends race.
Yeah, like how much do you really care about like the racial fighting there, huh?
Right.
So I have no pithy transition into our next bit because it gets both terrible and annoying. But this time in Guild Wars 1, it's an issue of bots in Guild Wars 1.
Which is random.
Yeah, well, from the listing, I'm going to drop the Reddit link in chat here. Since May of 2019, the Guild Wars 1 monthly automated tournaments have been won by the same guild, and the guild has apparently been using Mesmer interrupt bots for the entire time. Apparently, Mesmer bots interrupting monk healing skills. It overlaps perfectly, so the Mesmer will always have an answer for the monk. So it reduces the overall healing for the other guild during fights. A lot of this comes this one of the things in it. Girl Wars has a video on it about that. The OP of the Reddit thread believes the guild is a Nazi guild / made up of right wing extremists.
Okay.
Yeah. Quote the OP. Last month, the Nazi guild Heimreise statt Einreise. I'm terrible at German, so I apologize if I completely flubbed that. With the tag of FU smiley face, was awarded with a gold trim by ANET after winning the monthly tournament by using third-party programs. Support simply decided to change the tag to ban instead of removing the trim. This time they played under the name of White Knight Behavior, WKB, and once again ANET awarded them with the trim. I would like to remark that they are right-wing extremists. There's no doubt about this anymore, considering the bot Mesmer played under the name Gustkammer, which apparently is a reference to gas chamber. They already did this in 2019.
Oh, goody.
Yes. Further comments is that bans wouldn't be enough, as support is lacking for Guild Wars 1, and the guild has many accounts. Quote, you're probably asking yourself, why can't ANET just ban these players? Well, the answer would be Guild Wars support is broken. Not to mention that they have more than one account, 100+ accounts where they bought HA and PvE, so just giving a ban wouldn't be enough to stop this. Now, ZeKrioX in chat brings up the people just memeing, which it's just a joke, bro.
Possible.
It's possible, and people on the internet make terrible jokes all the time, so there's that. But I don't know.
It's not funny. It's not fucking funny. I'm dead serious. This is not fucking funny. Since May 2019, no.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. Like, I don't know what kind of staff is left for Guild Wars 1. Well, the only problem is ZeKrioX is if nobody knows you're performing. Like, I was just acting like an idiot as a joke. If nobody knows you're acting, you're just an idiot.
Well, that's also... observers. I was going to say that's also for a long time been one of the biggest criticisms of satire in general, because if you see some satire and you don't realize it's satire, then that causes issues too.
Yeah.
This is why you don't do it in video games, because people don't know. And you just, because people come from all walks of life when you come into a video game.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
You don't have the context, so you can't
especially like
context,
an MMO.
So. Yeah. So, one, the name's not funny. Please, for the love of God, stop. Two, bots, which, I mean, hell, we have that problem in Guild Wars 2 PvP with monthly automated tournaments. So, like, how the hell are we supposed to... I don't know. It's kind of the same that I've talked about before, why I use an ad block, because basically everybody uses some kind of advertisement service now, and their spam, it's I mean, go to YouTube, because this is going to go up on YouTube. YouTube gets hundreds of minutes of video every second, and they're responsible for moderating content. Like... How the hell are they supposed, as a singular entity? I mean, yes, it's Google, but like, they're still a singular entity servicing the world.
Yep.
So this is a problem. Yes, I have nothing. This is just like when we were talking about dragon response missions. This is a problem. This makes me feel bad. I don't know what to say to
I think
fix
it might be my problem. Everybody just froze.
Oh,
Ooh.
Oh no.
we can still hear you, Arlie.
Hello? Hey!
Are we back?
Hi! Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Was it like me that had the problem or you guys have the problem?
it
Because
was-
you both froze.
It was you. 'Cause-
Okay, that's what I figured. I was
'cause-
like, this might be me.
and we could hear you the whole time as well. So
Yay! Okay, sorry. I couldn't hear you guys or anything. I was like,
quote hat, we have a guild like that on Maguma. Most of the members have been permabanned due to that sort of behavior. Yeah.
There is no reason, absolutely not one reason, to justify in any way names that reference the genocide of hundreds of thousands of people. I do not condone it in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Please don't say sarcasm. Like, that's not acceptable.
no.
Yeah, it's honestly, I feel like that is kind of what is it? Stuff like Punked and other shows like that, like Jackass. It all felt so much like the bleed over of it's just a prank, bro. And
Yeah.
I was just being it feels like a band-aid that is used when somebody gets caught.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, it's also like it's easy to joke about things like that when you have no personal attachment to it, but just because you don't have personal attachment to it doesn't mean it's okay. Like
Yeah.
in some ways it makes it worse.
because you have no skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have no attachment to it, so you are just memeing off of somebody else's suffering as a complete like clinical way. Like I don't even know how to properly describe it. It's dickish behavior. Stop it. For the love of God, stop it. But
The an even bigger problem I have is that I don't want that to transition into Guild Wars 2 because that just means Arena just has an even bigger net to worry about, in addition to the initial problem of bots being in their game for like months on end without any response until recently.
yeah.
Well,
And it just looks really bad on them.
yeah, that's the thing that I'm curious is like they said something about they can't do anything about it because they have hundreds of counts. Well, they could have banned all of those counts. Like it might take a while to get through all of them, but like eventually.
Let's like normally when we ban people on MMO Champion, to use an example, I mean MMO Champion isn't even as large a platform as Guild Wars 1, I think, at this point.
Definitely.
But the people we permaban, sometimes they'll make another account or two, but IP tracing, we ban them and we keep banning their accounts, they eventually stop because the act of creating a new account is more of a pain than they'd be getting like 5 minutes of gameplay out of the account.
And most of the time the people like keep up their same shenanigans that they get banned for, which makes it easy to find them. There have been a handful of times where people made new accounts, but they behaved themselves and were like, fine, they're not causing a problem. They start causing a problem, we'll ban them again, you know? Like at the end of the day, like if you get permanent banned and then you make a new account and you behave on your new account, system worked. Like
yeah, and ZeKrioX does bring up a point: is in order to play Guild Wars 1, you have to purchase a license.
Yeah.
So that there's the barrier right there. If your account gets banned, you have to buy another account.
Yeah, I think Arena has the ability to hardware ban. I'm not sure.
It should. Like I'm
pretty
pretty
sure
sure
they
most
do.
MMOs have the ability for that.
Yeah.
Because that fiasco where they had that tracking was it last year they had that issue with tracking data from users, and
Yeah.
so I'm pretty sure they have the ability to do it.
And I just want to highlight with audio 7-Bit's statement: act like a dick, get treated like a dick, get permabanned like a dick. We don't want you here. I tend to agree with that. Yeah. So I think
Arena needs to hop on it.
yeah.
Yep.
That's too long. That's six, almost 7 months now.
Mm-hmm.
That's really long.
Yeah. It's a while. But
Like, I get Guild Wars 2 isn't a game that you're focused on. You're focused on expansion, but like I feel like there are
Right.
priorities that.
well, this isn't even Guild Wars 2, this is Guild Wars 1.
Yeah, exactly. Because
So
like all the like I don't know how many people work in between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, or if it's just like a maintenance crew for Guild Wars 1, but
yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. Because it's possible the support is trained to just handle both.
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like they might need to pull a few just to handle this situation.
Right.
It's really bad.
Yeah. So I really don't think there's anything good to take away from this other than ANET, please ban these dicks.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Yeah. But we can move to something slightly less bad in that new players are feeling misled when they buy Guild Wars 2.
What?
It seems that a lot of new players are expecting to get the Living Story Icebrood Saga specifically, since it's listed as one of the things you get on the buy page.
Yes.
Quote the Reddit thread here. As the title said, I feel misled after buying the Guild Wars 2 expansion. Let me copy the link for chat real quick here. Paste. I was under the impression from the official Guild Wars 2 site that upon buying the expansion, I'd be able to access the entirety of the Icebrood Saga campaign as advertised on buy.guildwars2.com. Nowhere on the site does it state you have to purchase the episodes separately. This is my warning to other new players who may arrive through Steam at some point that you do not get access to the Icebrood Saga, only access to buy the campaign. The OP linked a YouTuber, Muckluck, who also misunderstood this as well. Quote, Muckluck, I believe, Icebrood Saga, which is now included with a purchase of Path of Fire, if you didn't already have it, adds these zones released so far. Or maybe that's on the buy page. I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to watch the video.
He actually showed a map of Tyria and showed the zones, which implied that the content is there.
Okay.
Mm.
After getting no results with support and being a resident of Europe, the OP had to file a complaint with their local consumer protection office since ArenaNet is applicable to European consumer protection laws. They got their refunds and got to keep the extras minus the 4,000 gems. This is one of the problems that I've had with the system ever since they moved to the you have to buy the episodes problem.
Yeah.
Because as the game continues, this is going to get worse. You are going to end up with people who will buy the game, that will go through the story, they will get directed to do other parts of the story as they finish, say, the personal story, which people, because that's what you're directed to do on a brand new character, so you're directed to the personal story. I would assume that after you do the personal story, you're directed to Season 2 content.
Mm-hmm.
We now have Season 2, 3, 4...
Icebrood.
Icebrood is technically 5.
Yeah.
So we have 4 seasons of content that are now locked behind a paywall that people have no clue that this is going to be a thing when they buy the game.
Yeah.
Because other MMOs have already set the precedent of when you buy a game, you get all of the story content from the previous expansions.
Mm-hmm. Or even like with most other MMOs, when you buy the expansion, you get all the story that comes out throughout that expansion.
So yeah, I want to reference what 7-Bit said. I honestly didn't get this by page said you get the latest episode as soon as it comes out. This is because we are Guild Wars 2 players and we understand the system. If you're a new player coming in, you have the basic knowledge of like MMOs when you buy expansions and that they kind of like cascade into each other.
Mm-hmm.
And like Guild Wars 2 is very different in terms of how they dole out story because you have a expansion and then you have the content in between, which is the seasons, which you only get for free if you log in at the duration. So it's
and each
very
season
confusing.
is divided up into episodes, which changes what you get to depending.
Yeah. So like previously before this, they didn't really advertise Living World as part of the thing that you get with an expansion. But here, it's like they're listing it as one of the things that you get. And if you read it, it's like owners of Guild Wars 2 Pathfire can play the new Living World episodes as soon as they're live, which implies to me like, okay, cool, I can play these episodes when they're live, which like up to a certain point. Upgrade your account now and play the latest episode of our all new Living World story, the Icebrood Saga today. That's kind of how they save themselves in a legal sense, but it's very confusing, very misleading in my
Yeah,
opinion.
if you don't have the information that we all have because we understand how the story works, it's misleading. And right now, also, I'm confused. Like, if you were to buy Path of Fire right now, does that mean that you get all of episode 5, the first 2 chapters that came out, or just the latest chapter? Like, because that's even less clear. Or was it the previous episode that you get? Like, it's just that is really not clear to me as a Guild Wars player, you know?
Yeah, and it's different for us since we're logging in on a relative. And so the point ZeKrioX, the point you're making is I think what should happen, like you get all of the previous stuff, but that also means that like somebody buys Path of Fire right now. That means they're still missing out on Icebrood Saga, all the stuff they didn't have the account for in the first place, and Season 4. So they're missing out on all that content. Now, granted, End of Dragons comes out. What should happen is they get all of that rolled into their account when they buy End of Dragons, because I think we should all know that we should be expecting to buy another box when End of Dragons comes out, because it's what we've been doing, and I don't have a problem buying that because, you know, it's kind of what I've gotten used to at this point. But it's not clear on the buy page. Like, I get it. Like, it's not very clear how Living Story functions, and it's not clear how much of the story you don't get on a brand new account. So that's my problem, is there's no clear indication of the method of how the Living Story is delivered, and also the method by which you need to do that. Like, we all know that if you miss a chapter, you can farm the gold to get the gems to get the chapter that you missed. But again, episode. Sorry, the chapters thing lately has gotten me all over the place.
I know.
But we know that because, again, like H said, we've been here. We've been playing the game.
Yeah.
We know.
I don't know how...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just 7-bit also bringing up. I don't know how other MMOs do it, but I feel like Living World is important just because of the story flow. I didn't necessarily have an entire problem with people buying the Living World separately. I don't know how much money Arena makes off of doing it that way, but maybe that's why they don't bundle it.
My
But
guess would be
like,
that just to insert real quick and I'll let you finish. My guess would be that if they were to make the Living Story free, they would roll that cost into the expansion. So we would then have to pay more for the expansion, and we'd automatically get whatever story that comes in as part of that expansion afterwards. That's just my guess.
Yeah. I mean, I would take a $5 bump increase if other people could enjoy the story. But that's just me. But yeah, to finish the thought, it's just like Living World, I feel like is very is very important to understanding the cohesiveness of the story. So if people are playing for the story, it's kind of rough on them. But yeah, again, I don't know how much money Arena makes off of just doing it this way. And I don't like, because like I see there's an asterisk at the end of that pop-up statement, but I don't see where that asterisk leads anywhere, and maybe that was missing. I don't know, but
that's the other thing that bothers me. You can't have an asterisk if it doesn't reference anything.
Yeah, because I looked through the entire page like 3 times and I didn't see anything. So it's like,
the asterisk isn't another mouse over, is it?
Oh God. No, I hope
Okay.
not.
Okay, because that would be.
I didn't go like looking for hidden fields or anything like that. But
Like
Right.
the nesting the mouse overs is a thing I've seen, but
Like, slowly move your mouse over the whole page for the one missing pop-up.
well, I mean that's how I ended up getting the thumbnail for last week's episode because I couldn't find just that painted image for Power, so I had to right click View Source on the Power release page, and then I had to dig into the style sheets to pull the link to download the image.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, the living story seasons are like there's different ways to view it. Like you can view the expansion stories as the story and then the living stories as the filler because it gets us from one expansion to another. But I feel like if you look at it that way, it's not really doing a service to everything that happens in those seasons
yeah,
because a
like
lot of character development and everything happens through the course of those seasons.
and the death of one of the
Major
elder
characters.
dragons
Yeah.
as evidenced behind you. Like,
He's still
Yeah.
around.
yeah, like in Aureen's magical stomach.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's. I think like we can all agree that it'd be nice if they can just bundle it all together with the expansion. But
Right.
again, it also comes down to like what makes them more money in the end, or
Yeah.
like the conversion rate. So like,
Well, and it's also, I would say, charging more for the expansion to cover the costs of the lit stories for everybody else not paying on the back end would be a hard pill for a lot of current Guild Wars 2 players because they're used to just playing for the expansion story and then getting all of the other for free because they're playing anyways.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and if
there's a lot of trade-off there.
I mean, they could do it with End of Dragons, I guess, if they really wanted to, because they can't do it now. And on it, like quite honestly, I would take a $5 bump increase in the each expansion pack, just so like people could enjoy this content, if that's what it really came down to.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I would even be fine with a $10 bump, but like that's literally just me. And I know a lot of
little
people.
much. That's, yeah, okay.
But wouldn't
I
that
know a
put it
lot
up
of
to like
people would not be okay
$60?
with that.
Wouldn't
Well, if you get the base one and not the ultimate, like some people.
yeah. But,
So standard is $29.99 USD, deluxe is $54.99 USD,
right.
and ultimate is $79.99 USD.
yeah, I mean, if you bump everything up $10, that's still better than standard AAA titles on like consoles and stuff. Because MSRP is 60, and I know a lot of companies want to raise that to 70.
Yeah, I think like 10 for standard, 5 for deluxe, and 10 for ultimate might be okay.
Without knowing the background costs and everything, and the reason that it releases for free, and like I'm not 100% certain on that.
How much it would affect their bottom line for people not buying the old seasons, because that's the other thing I have no idea about is how many people really go back and buy those seasons.
Yeah.
How much is WoW expansion? $40?
Huh?
Is WoW expansion $40?
60, I think.
Really?
Standard. I don't remember.
7-bit say $39.99.
Okay.
And ZeKrioX, one, I have to agree. Like season 4 did not feel like it was a side story from Path of Fire. I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Breakfast Torment, yes. Joko crashing Halloween for the strike would be great. To get back on this topic, my biggest problem with this is I don't know what the Living Story chapter section of the gem store looks like.
Yeah.
I have, because I'm playing all the time. So I have no idea what this would look like to somebody who doesn't have these episodes, and I don't know what to do about it. Like, I can't
You should make a different account to look at that stuff.
I think I'd need to buy another copy of Guild Wars 2.
I think it shows up as part of the
free
upgrade.
to play version of it, and then you should be able to see all the stuff to
but
upgrade.
I don't know if you can buy Living Story chapters without
separately.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd be able to buy Living Story Like, I kind of figured living story chapters would be gated behind buying the game in the first place.
Probably makes sense, yeah.
Also, isn't
That's a good
logging...
question.
Yeah. Well, logging
Not
and getting...
regularly.
Well, I think
You
they...
usually have like a few months to do that. You only have to log in once. So
Well, they also did that. The living story chapter system was done before they did the login bonuses.
It seems like you have to buy it in a pack, but it's a flex bundle.
yeah, it is
buy
flex bundle.
I thought you could buy individual episodes for 200 gems base, and then the bundle, you would get them at a discount, and it would also remove chapters that you already had.
Yes.
I'm looking at the gem store upgrade section in the wiki. It just says the complete pack. Living World Season 2, 3, and 4 complete packs. And then there's an
I mean,
icebrood
it might
saga
be
complete
that the
pack.
only way to buy it to get individual seasons is through the login one. And aside from that, or it might be the only way to get individual episodes is through the login. And then outside of that, you'd have to buy the whole season. That makes sense on some level to me.
What would also suck is that if you bought you might not be able to buy a pack if you don't have a certain expansion or something like that.
Yes, I think that is a thing.
Yeah, because why would you be able, like, if you still had an account that's just Heart of Thorns? I don't know if they upgraded those when they did that change. Like,
I mean, when mounts released, you could buy mounts that you didn't have yet. So
True.
It's heavily
But
discounted if you have
like, I thought you had to have Path of Fire for that, even if you didn't have the mounts. Like, I had thought you had to have the ability to unlock the mount at all, or the mount system.
yeah, I think you have the ability. You think you need the ability to unlock the mount, but if you don't have the mount yet, you could still buy the.
Yeah. So like, if you didn't have Path of Fire, I didn't think you could buy like the mount skins.
You need Path of Fire if you need Path of Fire to buy mounts, but if you don't have a mount unlocked, like let's say Jackal, you could still buy Jackal skins.
Yeah.
Like, I had Sky Scale
that makes
skins.
sense to me.
I had Sky Scale. I had at least one Sky Scale skin unlocked. Wow, say that 5 times fast. Unlocked before I even unlocked the Sky Scale. So,
yeah, I have so many Griffin and Sky Scale skins unlocked. I had a few beetle beetle ones.
You still don't have your Griffin?
I still do not have my Griffin. Like, I literally just need to log in and do the things, but literally every time I think about it, I want to do something else. Like, it's just not any of that stuff. I'm just like, I don't really feel like doing that.
That's fair.
Apparently, you could buy mount skins even without having access to mounts. So
interesting. That's weird to me.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, but
I guess like for Black Lion chests, they wouldn't change the loot table.
Yeah.
Which does that mean you can get gliders without hot?
Probably. Because I guess it's an account unlock, and then
the same kind of thing.
You always have the option to unlock it later. So when does Tuesday become helping Arlie finish stuff? As long as... Well, see, the problem is that would require letting Arlie drive.
There's nothing wrong with me driving. I have literally a notebook with all the things I need to do written out in order of the things I need to complete for all of my things. It's organized.
You say that like we would follow the notebook throughout the night.
Could.
It seems like the notebook gets larger and larger.
It does. It grows much faster than I finish things.
Yeah, that tends to be the case for a lot of stuff. But 7-Bit is currently logging into their free-to-play account. But speaking of 7-Bit, we actually have a bit of a Reddit thread from 7-Bit that I'm going to switch to while he looks that up.
Oh, wow. I did not see that coming. I was like, what? How did he...
How did I do this transition? Because 7-Bit is being helpful.
Amazing.
We will talk more about the stuff for post-show. So, you know, if you're watching on YouTube, benefits of live. 7-Bit comes at us with an idea for seasons for World versus World, which I honestly kind of love most of the ideas here. Oh wait, I actually wanted to keep that Reddit thread up. suggestion. 7-Bit posted this to Reddit as a way to improve WW. 3 months, so there would be 4 seasons in a year. Your WW abilities reset every season. Your ranks and titles would stay the same. So, you'd be a level however many hundred general of whatever. And there would be themes for the season. So kind of like they have the WW events where it's like the ones where they do the crazy siege golem stuff and no downstate and stuff like that to basically change the way people would want to set up their WW builds for their WW
no
abilities.
No downstate for an entire season.
Yeah, that'd be a time. Then there would be a season reward track, and then 7-Bit also recommends a reward track with gem unlocks. So season reward track and extra unlockable reward track with gems, similar to battle passes. Free reward track chock full of WW experience, potions, siege equipment, materials. Premium reward track has its own theme with cool cosmetics you unlock at the end of the reward track. Outfits, mount skins, weapon and armor skins, glider skins, etc. I love the idea of a seasonal reset for the abilities. I really dig that. I really dig the idea of doing the theme for the season, like doing something like that. Having a seasonal reward track, I think that would you could set that to be like the pip system, I guess. Like you could modify the pip system to do that. Because I feel like people would also still want to, because with all the reward tracks that they also have in the game for like they do in PvP, is like you have all the regional reward track stuff. So I don't know if you'd want to interrupt that, but the pip system could be made to be like the free bit. I do not think a battle pass system for WW would work well. If only because I feel like people aren't a huge fan of those kinds of mechanics coming to Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
But that's me. What do you guys think?
I like the seasonal reset too, but I think they need to rework those talents and consolidate them because I feel like there's a lot of things that are different that can be really combined into 1 or 2 things. Because right now, like you scroll through that page, it's really long.
It's very daunting.
Yes. And I know so I stopped playing World versus World regularly about the time that they introduced that. So I was behind the curve. I am still behind the curve on World versus World. And for a long time, I didn't want to go in there because I didn't have gliding. And you can't keep up with the Zerg without gliding. Then they added the Warclaw. And that just exasperated the problem. So like for new players coming into World versus World, it is a significant detractor or deterrent. That's the word I was looking for. Deterrent. Even if like experienced World versus World players are like, oh, you don't need that stuff to do blah, 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 whatever. It doesn't matter. From somebody on the outside looking to go in, you see that and it's like, oh, shit. And then when you get points, it's like, what do I put it in? It's very kind of overwhelming in its current form. And if they want to get more people in, more people doing it, I think they need to simplify that.
Age is the person with the most WW experience in this entire podcast, so I'm waiting for his opinion on this one.
Oh, I was waiting for Elliot on the battle pass.
That was my main thing. I'm done.
Oh, okay. So I was saying I could see the ability reset working. I can see seasons working for sure. For the ability resets, it definitely has to be tied to a different XP system. Just to make sure that people can get all their abilities that they want within like maybe a week or 2. The reward track, like nothing has mentioned, I don't see it working just because people will definitely not want it to be available. I could see like a seasonal reward track that comes out for free, but not the one with gems. In terms of, I saw some responses in that thread, and I agree with one of them, which was what was it? What was it? It was I think it. Oh yeah, it was. It depending on how they do the ability upgrade system. So like, if you have everything now, let's say, and then they do this system, does it become a chase for getting all of the upgrades again every 3 months versus like actually doing world versus world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do agree with new players. It's kind of rough to just understand how to play. Um, but I can't really say like just follow the Zerg because like people don't know what to do, right? Because they're just
Mm-hmm.
going in for the first time. But for my advice for anyone who's starting to play World vs. World is to always follow the Zerg and then find your play style as you go into that. First upgrades I would get would be mostly just the ones for the guards, just because it'll help you do more damage versus the guards and take less damage from the guards.
Mm-hmm.
And anything related to siege, so supply capacity, and the glider. That's what I would start with, and then glider first if you have hot, and then the other ones. And then from there, you can actually choose where you want to like go down into what siege that you like to do the most. I actually did reset mine recently just because I wanted something rather than something else. Um, for Warclaw, all you really need is like maybe the first 2 pips in Warclaw, just because you get the Warclaw, and I think you get like the speed boost AOE for other people. Like the
Mm-hmm.
skills you don't really need. Um,
Yeah. My
uh,
issue though is on that is like that's all really good advice, but there's
exactly.
no like
There's
place
no
in game. There's
exactly.
no way for them to know, you know?
Yeah, that's just me learning it over time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's kind of interesting because I feel like World vs. World you can play however you want, and you can play in a Zerg, you can play Havoc, you can play in smaller groups, you can play roaming, you can just Zerg for your reward track, so you get your gifted battle. You can, there's like a bunch of ways to play. I don't really feel like upgrades are very necessary unless you're playing in smaller groups or Zerging.
Mm-hmm.
Or roaming, sorry.
Yeah.
For Zerging, I really think you could just play without 0 points in anything, with the possible exception of gliding. Yes, Mel.
I was gonna say
No,
I
that's me.
tried that for a while without gliding, and that was before the Warclaw, and that's where I decided to get really more into roaming because, like, I could keep up with the Zerg for a little bit, but as soon as they jumped off a cliff, like that would start the chain of as soon as I caught up to them, they were moving on again.
Well,
Like it.
Arlie,
Yeah.
you have to spec into the fall damage reduction trait. Oh wait.
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't really see a bunch of war claws ever since they took away the finisher on the jump skill. That's why I'm saying you
Mm-hmm.
don't really need to spec most of the war claws just
Screw
for
you! I
getting.
play
Right.
a guardian. Yes, I need the Warclaw.
Well, and that's the other thing I feel
Well,
like in a lot of the talents, there's a lot of things in there that don't seem to really affect much anymore because of the way people tend to play W World versus World at this point. Like, there's a number of things in there that it's just like, as a new player, you might put points there, but then never end up using, you know?
mhm.
And it's not, there's
So
no
yeah.
guidance on it.
So I feel like Arena needs to do a bit of a better job in that. I don't know if they have tooltips for it because I may have disabled that if anything, but
I
That's a
haven't
good
seen
question.
anything
if
pop up.
yeah, maybe some tooltips when you first enter Over's World just to get you through the initial parts.
Mm-hmm. Or
I
maybe
feel
like
like
the first few times to like really get it to sink in. Because sometimes when you get an initial thing, you get like 5 or 6 initial things and it'll be a blur. But if you can get those things a couple of times, then you can digest it more.
yeah,
So,
because I agree. Yeah.
looking at, I think I found the one, the one where you say that the upgrades aren't that big a deal. Is I think this person they state that no one gives a fuck about the WW upgrades. I feel
Yeah.
like that comes from a position of somebody who's had them all capped for a very long time, and it's just become the normal way they play.
Yeah.
In terms
And
in
they
terms
don't.
of in terms of zerging, that's my asterisk. Because in
Mm-hmm.
zerging, like some people will make up for your lack of points. It's negligible in a zerg. It
Mm-hmm.
becomes less negligible the less people you have in a group.
Until the point in time where you're just like, you see the commander calling out repair the wall or build siege, and can't spend, you don't have as much supply, you can't spend it as fast as other people,
Mm-hmm.
can't carry as much. Like, it's one of those things where it's, even me just running around in Zerg with the limited amount of WW points I have, because I dropped all of my stuff on auto loot and gliding and then the Warclaw, just because I tend to play stuff with low mobility and I want to actually be able to keep up with the Zerg.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like I am not being as effective as I could be because I grabbed other stuff first.
Right.
So
As
That's fine.
I don't.
That's fine for me.
So I
Per-
don't. Well, this is to counter to their point of nobody cares about the WW upgrades.
oh,
Relay.
okay.
yeah.
So like, I'm not gonna hop on Siege because I don't know what I'm doing on Siege. I don't like if there's like an empty arrow cart, I'll hop on an arrow cart because it's really not that hard to use an arrow cart. You point your cursor over somewhere and click.
Mm-hmm.
You pick the ability and you just keep everything on cooldown until the enemy Zerg is dead or they've stormed the tower that you're at and you're dead. So yeah, but it's just you still feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
so
I
it
agree with that. And this is why I'm saying it's kind of negligible because other people will pick up the slack in terms of that. So let's say you have nothing in supply capacity. So you have what 10, 15 siege you can carry and you have to do it like one bit at a time. If three people are building siege, it'll probably get done. It might take 5 to 10 seconds, but it should get done. Um But if honestly, if you're a new player, I feel like don't stress too much about it. You'll eventually get them over time. If you and also keep in mind that you might not even enjoy the mode entirely. You're just going
Mm-hmm.
for a purpose or just trying it out. But over time, you will gain like some of the nice bonuses and stuff.
So,
Um,
like in the abilities, when you mouse over them, there are pop-ups that um uh explain it a little bit, but it says exactly the same thing that it says on there if you don't mouse over. So there's no extra information. There's no indication of how useful that is. And the other thing I've noticed is it tells you how many points the next upgrade is and how many points the total cost of that line is, which is good, but that can also be like really, really, really daunting. I just lost it. One of them says it's like 147 points to upgrade it all the way. And like
yeah,
for a new player, there you go. Supply capacity, it's 145.
I don't have
That
I don't have everything, so I
right,
still play it, but
but like if you don't know that most people don't have all of those things and your thought is that most people probably have all of these things, it sets up the expectation that you're really far behind. And
hmm,
that can be detrimental to a new person. Like, why should I even bother? Because like I'll never catch
that's
up.
interesting. Yeah, I guess it's just because people don't really understand that like if you play in a Zerg, you can still have fun with it
Mm-hmm.
and you can gain the points over time. I guess that's
Yeah.
kind of the main issue, at least from what I understand. Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
but
Uh,
ultimately the
the
whole. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Age.
I was just gonna say the one thing that is a problem with the resets is that for people like me who roam mostly,
Mm-hmm.
have I have to get certain things to work well. Like so the guard points I definitely need because I need to do damage quickly because if I get caught out, I'm going to get screwed.
Right.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
so the less time I am killing a guard, the better.
Mm-hmm.
So that it presents like I said, it like the smaller the group, the more necessary you need certain upgrades. But yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I think that they probably should simplify to in some way is you have the match overview, which is where you get your points and all of that rewarded. You have the reward track, and then you have the ability points. And it's not very clear in the UI how you earn each of the things for those, like how they work together, or how they just seem like separate things, if that makes sense. So like that, I could see that being something that players look at and like, I don't understand this. This is weird.
You mean in terms of the objectives on the left, or?
When you're in the match overview,
Uh-huh.
all that, you have the you see the tick per prediction, all of that, and like to get the chest, and then you have the reward track, and then you have the ability points. It's not clear how you earn things to fill up each of those.
Oh, I see.
Like
Okay.
I could see the assumption being, oh, I just go and kill random people and it'll fill it up or stuff. Like there's no real guidance on that either.
Yeah, I don't have the game open, by the way. I
just
know.
opened because I wanted to look at it. I was like, there's something else I'm thinking to.
Well, it's just remember. Like I said, if I load up the game to look at the stuff like with you guys, I'm pretty sure it would lag the stream. So
that's fine.
But yeah, you bring up interesting points. It's I don't know, like the best way right now, the quickest way would be with tooltips for anyone who first goes into World vs. World, but I don't know if they do that. I don't know if they have plans to do that. If alliances ever gets off the table, maybe, I don't know.
That would be
because like PvP suffers from that, from pretty much the same other things too that you mentioned.
Just being too daunting.
It's like it's something you have to learn, right? It's like a system you have to learn over time.
And like the way it's currently set, the only real way to learn it is either seek third party sources outside of the game, or trial and error, which is just not an efficient way in general for most people to learn things. And plus, like, especially with any time you're talking about world versus world or PvP, if you're doing things people don't think you should be doing, whether they're right or wrong, they will yell at you, which is another deterrent for new players.
Definitely. Yeah.
I won't yell at you. I'll just compensate. That's it.
That's because you're chill, Age. There are a lot of people in this game that are not chill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, like, it's frustrating for me because I'm like, if I'm not doing something, I should be doing something. Let me know. But don't yell at me. Like, it's not like I know and I'm just like, haha, I'm going to screw these people over, you know?
It's, because it's mostly like I could spend time like writing a paragraph, or I could just actually do something that benefits. Right. So it's like, I feel like typing just wastes time unless I'm like dead, I'm waiting to respawn or something like that. I told you guys the Ellie story, right?
I don't think so.
No. There was this one elementalist, I'm pretty sure he was like doing with the necro, and he was just god awful. And because I was thief, he was bitching about how I wasn't helping him and stuff. It's like, dude, you go into a fight and you die within 5 seconds every time as a Tempest. What do you expect me to do?
Save him!
So, like, I have a Mesmer at home. I think I was playing with Jebro, too. Jebro was at far, so I'm trying to help Jebro out, but I couldn't. I had to peel off eventually because, like, I couldn't kill the other guy with him. And so, like, I couldn't do anything mid because the Ellie kept dying mid, so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go home, but there was nothing at home, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go mid again. Oh, no one's there. Okay, I'm gonna go far again where I can actually do things. And it's like, okay, we're losing. I need to peel people off. So like, I'm just we're on faux fire, so there's the guard, the Lord thing. So like, I'm tricking people by hitting the door and going for Lord, and I actually pulled people, and this Ellie's complaining that I'm actually going for it. I'm like, shut up, in my head. It's like, leave me alone. It's like, this is, and it
Yeah.
actually worked. It worked.
Mhm.
I pulled 3 people. I survived long enough to run away,
Mhm.
and our tick went right back up. We were in the lead. And
Yep.
then there was like the last ticks. We were still in the lead by like 5 to 7 ticks. So and we had 2 points. So I'm like, it was far and mid, and I saw the engineer going far, and it's a scrapper. I can't kill a scrapper at that balance patch. So I'm like, okay, I just need to hold long enough so that the ticks get up in time so that we win. As long as we have mid and far, and I lose far like at the last seconds of the tick, we win the game. So I'm kiting this guy for like 20, 30 seconds, and I'm like, okay, I can't die because that'll give them the advantage. So I just run away. It's like, okay, perfect. I go mid, and the Necro understood what I wanted to do, and he was running away from the midpoint. But the Elementalist, well, who was the last person in mid, also left the point, and the point got decapped. I was so mad. I was so mad. I was so mad. We lost everything there. I was so mad.
God, I
I
can
was
feel that.
Why?
I can feel that in
I
my
was so
soul.
mad. I don't know how many
That's
times I told
amazing.
this story, but that there were only like 2 times that I've wanted to flame so hard, and that was one of those games. At the end of the game, I was like, "What the hell did you do that for? You're Jesus!" And I
You
PM'd the
ruined it.
Necro. I PM'd the Necro. It's like, "Yo, dude, tell your friend to level up, or like, because this is ridiculous what he did." Like,
Yeah,
Sure.
my personal favorite, and I can't take credit for this quote, is would you have liked to, did you want me to hold your hand and die with you? Because that was from Krista when she used to play ARAMs in League while she was working at home, and that was one she told me when somebody was flaming. Why didn't you go in with me? Because they ran in 1v4, and it was
Oh,
just
well.
like
yeah,
what a. But yeah, that's a thing, and that tends to be the problem with people in any PvP game. I am happy that I was able to pass that on, Kitten. I am truly
Yay.
happy that I was able to pass that on. Really,
That's
I'll,
awesome.
I'll let
man.
I'll let her know that you used it. But
I mean, when it comes to League, if I'm diving 1v4, I know I'm going to either utterly distract people by getting bombarded with damage, or I'm going to die for this knowing that I want to get a pick.
Right.
I did this week on Tuesday, which was our game nights. You guys should come hang out and
the
check out.
VOD of that is going to be on Twitch.
It's
On
kind of
YouTube.
scuffed.
Oh, okay.
I can't upload it to YouTube. It's on Twitch. I marked it as 13.5 just because the audio balance was really off and I couldn't do much about it. And I
Okay.
tried to grab it from mine, but I'm like, I had music going, so I'm like, crap.
Yeah.
Oh.
So at least it's on Twitch if you guys don't mind the booming from my mic.
But that's just a general PvP problem. I figured this is that a lot of what 7-bit it's a good discussion. Like I won't say your ideas for WW are perfect, but it's definitely a great place to start a conversation about it, which obviously we just spent the past 15-20 minutes talking about it. So good on you,
Yeah.
man.
I think primarily people just want people to stop like glitching into towers and things like that. And promoting World versus World in terms of I think the seasons were a way to promote like World versus World because you can get like seasonal cosmetics and things like that, which is nice. But I think tournaments would suit that. It's similar to tournaments in that respect, but they said they wanted to rework alliances before they actually do tournaments again.
It's understandable.
Which we had. I know we got an update on alliances at some point recently, but I don't remember how recently that was.
Recently, I think that was like at the start of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
which was I've been saying,
in the before time, basically.
Approximately 4 decades ago.
Yes.
So my whole final thoughts on it is, I think that the big thing is we just need an overhaul of the WW abilities in a general sense.
Yeah.
Just so they seem a little less daunting, but
also makes sense. Like I said, there's some things that can be consolidated together. There's no reason for them to be different things.
yeah. But
I'd have to look, but yeah, could be.
yeah, I mean that's good 7-bit, but like you started a conversation, which is solid, and WW probably does need a bit of a shake-up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think one of the problems, one of the reasons why I've been focusing on like the new player experience so much is one of the problems with World versus World is like any game mode, any game, whatever. There's always going to be some amount of current players quitting and not playing it anymore. And you need to have a consistent inflow of new players playing that stuff to backstop to keep, a good population in there. And like if you make it hard for new players to come in and feel useful, you're only going to make it harder to backstop that just natural progression of people leaving.
But all in all, any further thoughts before we move on to Community Corner?
Nope, that's all I got.
Cool. So, now, see, I'm kind of sad that Deo couldn't be here because he's the one who brought this up. Our first bit in Community Corner from Reddit user Bethlin, a video talking about Stadia. Copy link location into Twitch chat. Because this is from our Stadia. The genius design of the Guild Wars skill system, and why Stadia could bring balance to systems like it. Video talks about Guild Wars 1 skill system, and the possibility of Google's Project Chimera could balance issues with Guild Wars so that future games can use Guild Wars skill system in order to make a balanced game. I don't know what Project Chimera is. I didn't have a chance to watch the video or read through the thread, so I feel awful talking about it.
Well, I can give like a brief description. It's like so Project Chimera is basically an AI that learns based on different combinations of skills. In this example, in order to find imbalances, in order to balance a game.
Okay.
Oh.
So they did an example with CCG, I believe. I don't know if it's like a actual CCG or like just a test CCG, but like they did an example of it, and the video talks about how well the guild, like most of it was actually talking about how well the Guild Wars 2 system works in terms of skills and understanding enemies and how weaknesses work, and how Project Chimera could actually balance games that use that kind of system to make like a more balanced game. So, for example, if let's say Guild Wars 2 used we can actually use Guild Wars 2 as an example because I feel like you can use Project Chimera for any type of game that has a finite amount of skills.
Okay.
That with like I don't know how much of a finite pool of different combinations that it can support, but let's say like for Guild Wars 2, let's take Sig Guardian for example, and then it inserts it puts them in a situation and it combines every single certain amount of skills. It finds all the imbalances based on the different matchups, and then it would balance it accordingly.
Okay, so it would basically say this particular combination of skills performs this well. If you wanted to improve it, you would do this thing to these skills.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it goes that far as saying suggestions, but
okay.
I don't know if I'm not sure how it points out the imbalances or if it actually fixes the imbalances with like numbers, but
at the very least it would show which builds perform to a certain standard.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you'd be able to like look at the data, make a change, rerun the data set, look at the data, iterate through everything.
Yeah, I believe that's kind of the idea behind it, which is really cool, honestly.
Yeah, that's really sweet. I like that.
I wonder if it. So, like, one of the interesting things for me is that with game balancing, it's what makes it really difficult is sometimes because of the way things interlock and work with each other and have effects on other things. Small changes can have massive effects. So, like, just tweaking this one thing that seems like it's way out of bounds, like bringing it down might make it completely worthless, even if it's just a small change. Um, or vice versa the other way. So I'm curious, like, how deep that program gets, because if it could take into account the effects of making one change would have on the whole system, that would go a long way to helping figure out that whole problem.
Yeah, I think they use CCGs because I think it's one of the more easier things to balance.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, it'd be kind of cool because like Guild Wars 2 has basically 8 skills with ability points for each line,
Mhm.
and you can run like a secondary profession. But I feel like it's that type of system is more within the realm of possibility to balance for this Project Chimera.
Guild Wars 2, like there's it has a fair bit more complexity to in comparison to Guild Wars 1, but it's still a
Yeah.
finite ability pool.
Hmm.
So, but honestly, the whole thing sounds really cool, and I'm gonna have to get around to watching that video because the applications are wonderful, but I don't know what the availability for using Project Chimera is. Hi,
Mhm.
Yeah. Thanks, Toss.
he said thank you. But
But yeah, I don't know how far along it is. I don't know the limitations it has either, but that's about it. Yeah.
yeah, but with that being said, we do have one other bit of community corner news. Again, coming from 7-Bit.
Mhm.
See what you did there. I see what you did there.
Yep.
But a bit of a quote from Bobby Stein on the guild chat that happened yesterday. A brief clip. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Half that if you watch it on 2x speed, like I did during the pre-show. Where he talked about how the team was given the opportunity to work on an expansion.
A
We're
gift.
gifted.
Gifted, yes. It's kind of hard to remember the exact words he said because I was also trying to set up the show. But it's interesting to hear that it seems like the idea of an expansion um, wasn't planned.
I was gonna say, watching that, the way it reads, like, and I've had this suspicion for a while just from variety of different things, but I think that the original plan for Icebrood Saga was to do that in lieu of an expansion, to
Right.
do
Hmm.
expansion type things without an expansion. It didn't necessarily need an expansion. And my interpretation of what he said on that part is it sounds like to me NCSoft or somebody up high was like, nah, we want an expansion. You're doing an expansion. That's just how it
Yeah,
came across to me.
I mean,
that makes sense.
yeah, that would make a lot of sense. I honestly, that's one of the things that I always kind of thought is like, there's nothing stopping them with the content delivery system that Guild Wars 2 has from doing what they have decided is what an expansion is to Guild Wars 2, which at this point is really just a major event, like in the story, plus elite specs. So, and I guess the mastery system introducing some new manner of traversal would be the three things that are the hallmark of a Guild Wars 2 expansion at this point.
Yeah.
There's nothing that would stop them from just releasing that.
Right.
So, don't nearly
Yeah.
need to wait for a box, so to speak. And ZeKrioX, I do not think it's going to. I'm not trying to overhype myself because that was a problem with both Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. It got overhyped in the community. So I'm trying to avoid, like, preparing myself for failure, so to speak. But I don't. I really don't think they can go to Cantha and have it be smaller than what we would expect.
Right.
Because people have been asking for Cantha since the game released.
Yeah. I was going to say, I would expect until they say otherwise that it will follow what we've had from previous expansions.
Yeah. I just hope that they do a mix of explorer maps and meta maps instead of just one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like I was hoping for Path of Fire, but Path of Fire started with just explore maps, which I don't hate. I just like to do both. So.
Mm-hmm. It meld the systems a little bit better.
Well, that, I mean, explorable maps have a finite thing. Like, they have a finite amount of stuff you can do with them before you have exhausted the content within them.
Mm-hmm.
Meta maps are, by their nature, you want to keep going because they are lucrative, because they can make you in-game materials and currency that you can use to do other stuff in the game outside of the map. So
yeah, I like the reason why I like Hotathorn's meta events is just because you can kind of mix it up. The way, like, if you're farming Verdant Brink for like a week and then you want to switch it up, you can just like do Dragon Stand for another 3 days, go to Orc Basin, do that. It's kind of nice, or even Silver Waste if you want. And so I feel like meta maps are nice in terms of if you want to grind but not want to grind the same thing all the time.
they're also really good for testing new builds.
Yeah.
Quote 7-bit, the main reason I even posted the clip was because I thought this was incredibly candid of them to say, and that's commendable, and I wanted to highlight it since not everyone watches the streams.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I honestly do think it's pretty commendable to be honest to your player base. Which, kind of a weird thing to say at this point, but honestly, whenever we had the chance to talk to Bobby at the last PAX East we went to, which was, God, that was 2018, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep. It's been a while.
Anyway, Bobby was a great guy to talk to. Fantastic. I had to disappoint Deo because I had to ask about Abaddon, and I think the table was referenced, but probably not. They actually gave it a lot of yeah, they do give a lot of information on the streams, so but
I just wish they were, like, I know they do it within their own work day, but I wish they were later in the day because I'm working.
yeah. And ZeKrioX, while I elite specs, they're standard, but they're still expansion standard. They're still huge. I mean, you think about it, they're adding 9 new classes to the game. Like, it's not like they're just adding an extra little line of flavor for a given class. It is a new class. We will have 36 classes when End of Dragons releases.
Yeah.
Core, Hot, Poth, and then EOD.
Because the thing is, for this game, the repeatable content is PvP, World vs. World, dungeons, raids, fractals, strike missions, and Elite Specs adds onto those immensely, just because the people who run dungeons, raids, fractals, strike missions will want to test the new stuff and see what's viable, what isn't, or what's the optimal thing. For World vs. World and PvP, it adds a different dynamic to those matches. So,
well, and I know you don't want to undermine the Elite Spec sec, but like, I don't want to push for something game changing every expansion, because that just moves the goalpost every single time. So then they're expected to perform at previous bar plus 20%. So that gets moved every single time.
Also, anytime you game change the game, there's a certain percentage of your player base who's like, I liked what I had. Why did you have to go and change it? And that's an issue too.
Which is, I mean, one of the reasons why they haven't raised the level cap, because they don't want to invalidate your gear every time they release new content. And then, like, one of the biggest things you can do in the game is to craft gear that you can change the stats on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
it's
I'm
just...
kind of hoping for expansion news in the next couple months, like maybe March or beginning of March.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what they plan. I don't know if they'll do like a POF type of deal again. But I kind of like the hot one because it promoted the expansion over a couple months, and
Yeah.
getting people excited for it.
I
Maybe
kind
they
of...
can shorten it, but that's about it.
I was kind of enjoying, like, the weekly, like, here's a brief introduction video about the new elite spec for this profession.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'd be nice if they did that again. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I think that's getting into, like, after show talk. But, like, any further thoughts on the bit from Bobby? Or are we good to go?
Good.
I'm good to go.
Good to go. So that puts us in outro territory, which means, Arlie, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch and on Twitter and Instagram at Arlie82. And right now I'm only streaming on Thursdays at the MMORPG COM Twitch channel.
This, you said progression rating, right?
Yes. Yay, we're 3 out of 10 in heroic now.
May the gods have
Exciting.
mercy on your soul. And Age, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube at Age Night Road. I did mostly Guild Wars 2 this week. Started making new builds. It's interesting. If it works out really well, I'm gonna get Thief nerfed again. But
Ooh, I like the sound of this.
Me too. Yay.
Just gonna leave it at that. But
So
I'll
Twitch.tv/Age Night Road for thief breaking.
I'll mess with that a bit next week, and I'm also going to. I think I have some video. I need to finish up leveling my character. I need to. And I think that's it. I'll probably do a bit of Apex because this season, new season's in the week after. So that's about it.
Awesome. And you can find me grimacing on camera because I realized Age's camera is actually off center in the box. So you could see the Discord thing light up every time you talk, but that is neither here nor there. You can find me on Twitter at MalfantasMMO. You can also find me here live on twitch.tv/MadRealms. That's 2 A's in the Mad. Every Tuesday with these fine folks playing some form of game, which it sounds like Tuesday is going to be Help Arlie Do Stuff in Guild Wars 2, so that we can actually help her pare down her list. Thursdays is 0 to Hero, Guild Wars 2 ranked PvP, where I am playing Flamethrower Engineer because I needed something a little less cerebral so I could work on my macro this time. And then next Saturday we'll have more Talking Skritt. But that'll be it from us, folks. I hope you all have a fantastic evening, and we will catch you next time. Good night, everybody.
Hi, guys.